The story opens in the gleaming, sun-drenched metropolis of H City. Yet for many, life is a nightly grind, with lofty dreams remaining just that, dreams. A lone young man walks the streets, keenly aware that effort alone doesn't guarantee a finish line. The narrative suggests that in this world, the ultimate advantage is the background you're born into. He stands before a magnificent suit of armor, aspiring to one day be worthy of wearing it. With unwavering resolve, he believes that sheer hard work will eventually make him a great adventurer. His method of training involves meticulously studying the latest gear, noting its enhanced magical resistance. But his sharp analysis reveals the new model's damage reduction is only a marginal improvement. Just then, a condescending young master and his associate stride in, dismissing new applicants as trash. He's immediately greeted as a VIP, impatiently demanding to be shown only the best new items in stock. The VIP is presented with the latest armor, specialized for harsh environments and elemental resistance. His sharp-eyed associate, however, is more interested in the lone figure taking notes in the corner. The staff whisper about the protagonist, dismissing him as a window shopper who never actually buys anything. Suddenly, the associate confronts the young man, questioning his status as a level 3 adventurer. A system window confirms his level but reveals a shocking secret: 0 successful dungeon completions. With a condescending glare, the associate demands to see the contents of his research notebook. He snatches the notes and viciously mocks the young man, calling him a pretend adventurer and a waste of association funds. The protagonist is left speechless, completely blindsided by the unprovoked and cruel verbal attack. He attempts to walk away to avoid trouble, but the associate grabs him, refusing to let the matter drop. The man's grip tightens as he interrogates him, but an unexpected power begins to surge from the protagonist's hand. A surge of blue energy erupts as the protagonist forcefully rejects the associate's grip. The associate stares in disbelief, completely taken aback by the weakling's sudden resistance. But the power outburst comes at a cost, as the protagonist winces in pain from a severe magical reaction. Unfazed, the associate manifests his own powerful arm equipment, crackling with menacing energy. He delivers a punishing blow, sending the unprepared young man flying backward from the impact. Towering over his victim, the associate dismisses his own power and continues his verbal assault, calling him trash. A concerned staff member rushes to help, pointing out the blood dripping from his nose. He quietly wipes away the blood, his expression hardening with silent resolve. The associate issues a final, chilling warning to stay away before his master impatiently calls him over. Ignoring his injuries, the protagonist picks up his notebook and reassures the staff, his determination unshaken. As the protagonist departs, the young master decides to buy the very item he was studying, a final petty display of wealth. He reflects on his status as a level 3 adventurer with no profession, resigned to a future that seems to have no path forward. The narrative shifts to the past, revealing a world forever changed by the sudden appearance of mysterious glowing portals. From these gates poured monstrous creatures, quickly overwhelming humanity's defenses and plunging cities into chaos. At humanity's darkest hour, a new breed of warrior emerged, wielding incredible powers against the monstrous tide. The path to becoming one of these adventurers was simple: slay your first monster and awaken your potential. This awakening was like a cosmic lottery, a roll of the dice that determined your entire future with a single reward. But his own draw was an anomaly, a result so rare it defied even the highest odds, foreshadowing a unique and difficult path. Over time, this system created a rigid hierarchy where the talented and powerful monopolized wealth and opportunity. Meanwhile, those from humble beginnings were left to fend for themselves, isolated and struggling in a world dominated by the elite. But even in this rigid system, a small window of opportunity exists for the less fortunate. A team of powerful, high-level adventurers gathers, their classes and levels displayed for all to see. Our protagonist arrives, a stark contrast at level 3 with no class, wondering why such a strong team has assembled. He's spotted by a couple of familiar faces who cheerfully call him over to join them. They discuss the strange situation, a simple E-level dungeon raid that has inexplicably attracted high-level elites. Believing the dungeon must hold something special, he pulls out his research notebook, ready to analyze the opportunity. A friendly level 6 healer joins their group, greeting the men with a warm smile. She questions his obsessive note-taking, pointing out that grunts like them never get a share of the real treasure. While impressed by his dedication, she can't help but wonder what the point is when they lack the power to claim anything for themselves. He counters that knowledge is survival, vowing that one day he'll be the one powerful enough to conquer dungeons on his own terms. Their conversation is cut short as a powerful presence makes itself known, catching the protagonist off guard. The young master from the store appears, clad in magnificent, crackling armor that radiates raw power. With a smirk, he dismisses his formidable equipment, announcing that the raid is about to begin. The protagonist freezes, recognizing the very man who humiliated him earlier, wondering why he's here. The young master casually rewards his team, offering them a free piece of equipment from the warehouse. His associate's gaze sweeps the crowd and locks onto a familiar face, a menacing glint in his eye. The healer panics upon making eye contact and tries to pull the protagonist away before trouble starts, but a heavy hand lands on his shoulder, stopping his escape dead in its tracks. The associate looms over him, his voice low and threatening as he recalls his earlier warning. Refusing to be intimidated, the protagonist struggles against the grip, demanding to be released. The associate's patience finally snaps, his eyes narrowing with cold fury. He violently grabs the protagonist by the hair, his grip tightening with malice. With a brutal shove, he smashes the young man's face directly into the dirt. A sphere of intense fire materializes in his hand as he reveals he's the client for this raid. He feigns concern, mockingly questioning the protagonist's poor physical condition. Ignoring the other's desperate pleas, he unleashes his fiery power into the ground. The ground erupts in a massive fiery explosion, scattering the onlookers in a panic. The force of the blast sends the nearby adventurers flying, their faces contorted in fear. When confronted by an association official, he casually dismisses the violent outburst as a simple accident. Towering over the injured protagonist, he delivers a final cruel insult, questioning the very point of his existence. The associate leans down, mockingly offering to help the very person he just assaulted. As his friends rush to check on him, the associate shamelessly flirts with the association official, completely ignoring the scene he caused. Two other high-level adventurers observe with amusement, noting their boss's cruel habit of making an example out of the weak. The associate finishes a phone call, casually delegating the next phase of the raid to his smug colleague. A muscular raid leader orders the low-level adventurers to line up and enter the E-level portal, promising it's safe. The concerned healer checks on the protagonist, who quietly reassures her that he's fine despite his injuries. An infographic explains dungeon rankings, but ominously, this portal's magic level reads as an unknown variable. He reflects on the harsh reality for low-level adventurers who are only hired as disposable labor for menial tasks. As he steps toward the portal, he braces for the intense, full-body pain his system suffers when exposed to magic. Gritting his teeth against the agony, he pushes forward, knowing that enduring this torment is his only path. He endures all this suffering for one simple, desperate reason: to survive. They step into the dungeon, a desolate landscape ominously named the Tower of Forgetfulness. The intense magical atmosphere immediately assaults his body, triggering a violent internal reaction. Blood streams from his nose as he struggles to withstand the overwhelming wave of pain. He drops to one knee, grimly accepting the familiar agony that plagues him in every dungeon. His concerned friends rush over, trying to understand his sudden and severe collapse. But two of the elites watch from a distance, mocking his condition as a pathetic excuse for weakness. He ignores their taunts, his expression hardening as he silently endures the pain and humiliation. The raid leader impatiently orders the low-level workers to begin their task of mining the glowing crystals. When the healer turns back to check on him, she's shocked to find he has completely vanished. She turns to see him already mining with relentless energy, chipping away at the glowing crystals. His friends watch with concern, wondering how he can work so hard just moments after being assaulted. One of them reveals the protagonist's unfortunate title, calling him an abandoned adventurer. He explains it's a rare disease with the same low probability as a hidden job, a cruel joke played by the system. The condition causes a severe allergic reaction to magic, making the body reject its own power and leading to organ failure. This internal conflict turns their own potential into a self-destructive poison. Many with this magic disease have died unexpectedly, as even healing spells can be lethal. A system window illustrates the curse, a magic intolerance that prevents the body from ever accepting a profession. Despite this, he has painstakingly grinded through dozens of portals, proving he possesses an unbreakable will. Each strike of his pickaxe is a testament to his determination, shattering the crystals with explosive force. He grits his teeth, knowing that since he can't fight, menial tasks are his only source of experience. Every swing of his pickaxe is a step toward saving enough money to afford the expensive overseas treatment for his condition. His ultimate goal is to become a strategy advisor for the Explorer Guild, a path that requires money, a cure, and proper gear. Clutching the recruitment ad, he steels himself, his exhaustion overshadowed by his fierce ambition. With a fire in his eyes, he renews his vow to one day become a true adventurer once more. The low-level workers finish their task, filling the final wheelbarrow with the valuable magic crystals. His friends nervously discuss leaving, worried that the high-level adventurer's presence might spawn monsters far beyond their league. Despite their chatter, a deep sense of unease settles over him. Something about this dungeon feels fundamentally wrong. He senses a powerful magical aura emanating from a distant tower, correctly identifying it as the final boss's lair. But his analysis hits a snag when he realizes with a jolt that there isn't one boss tower but two. Without warning, a powerful blow sends him reeling backward in agony. His friends rush to help, but the high-level adventurers form a barrier, warning them to stay back. He realizes this is all orchestrated by the associate, the same man who attacked him before. He struggles to understand the relentless persecution, wondering what he did to deserve this. One of the elites grabs him, revealing their orders are to take care of him because of his magic disease. They mock his very existence, declaring that a useless adventurer with his condition shouldn't even be alive. Despite his injuries, he rises to his feet as his friends desperately try to hold him back from the confrontation. A blonde elite prepares a powerful skill, mockingly offering to end his suffering with a single high-level attack. A sudden, chilling realization dawns on him as he understands the true meaning behind their words. He finally connects the dots, understanding the associate's earlier offer to help was a veiled threat against his very survival. A shadowy figure questions the elite's understanding of him, surrounded by menacing allies. The protagonist's face is contorted in a fierce expression, framed by fiery hues. A bold question challenges the elite's self-proclaimed authority over life and death. A mysterious symbol flickers, suggesting the activation of a powerful ability. A conversation in a sleek car reveals a chilling new policy regarding lower-level adventurers. The associate discusses a plan to eliminate certain individuals, believing their absence will go unnoticed. He reassures his companion that their actions will have no negative consequences. A sinister smile accompanies a chilling declaration about the fate of those deemed unworthy. The car speeds away, leaving a trail of dust and a chilling philosophical statement. A fiery explosion erupts, endangering the low-level adventurers caught in its path. The protagonist is struck by a fireball, a level 3 magic skill. He realizes the attacker's true intention was to harm him. Another adventurer worries about the protagonist due to the significant level difference. A fiery explosion engulfs the area. The blonde attacker celebrates, pleased with finally hitting his target. The protagonist summons a weapon amidst the chaos. He cries out in pain and desperation. The attacker prepares another strike, annoyed by the protagonist's resilience. The attacker is shocked by the protagonist's unexpected action. The protagonist coughs up blood, clearly injured. A brutal kick sends him flying, slamming him hard against the unforgiving ground. His attacker pins him down with a boot to the head, showing absolute contempt. On his leader's command, the attacker delivers a final, brutal blow, ending the confrontation. The immediate, severe consequence of the strike becomes shockingly apparent. An overwhelming wave of pain washes over him as he faces his own mortality. In his final moments, he questions the cruel fate of dying powerless and alone. The other low-level workers panic, realizing the elite's plan to eliminate all witnesses. An ominous, blood-stained structure appears, foreshadowing the grim fate awaiting everyone. A final, defiant thought cuts through the darkness, questioning their authority over his life. Just then, a critical system alert appears, warning that the dungeon's boss has been replaced by a hell-level monster. The entire dungeon shudders as a colossal dark tower erupts from the ground, announcing the new boss's arrival. The new boss makes its grand entrance, its impact shaking the very foundations of the dungeon. The arrogant attacker's blood runs cold as he realizes he's no longer the predator in this dungeon. The source of the terror is a monstrous warrior, whose raw power warps the very air around him. As his consciousness fades, his last sight is of something so strange, he questions his own dying eyes. His fading vision reveals two otherworldly beings, a grim duo heralding the arrival of death itself. A system window identifies the terrifying duo, the legendary Soul Reapers, black and white impermanence. Death doesn't claim him. Instead, he awakens alone in a vast, dark emptiness, utterly confused. He questions his strange new surroundings, completely unaware of what has just transpired. A system alert shatters the silence, announcing a new player has just entered the game. And it's him. A disembodied voice cuts through the silence, leaving him to wonder about its origin. The system directs him toward a strange, blood-stained shrine that has appeared in the void. He stares at the ominous object, trying to comprehend its purpose in this empty space. His sharp senses pinpoint the source of the voice, realizing it's coming from within the shrine. Driven by curiosity, he reaches out to investigate the mysterious container. He yelps in pain as something inside unexpectedly bites his finger. A bizarre talking calligraphy pen emerges, indignantly correcting his mistaken identity. The strange creature welcomes him as the system's activator, but he remains bewildered by his surroundings. With a wide, unsettling grin, the pen creature challenges his belief that this place is empty. The creature then reveals a chilling truth. He is standing directly above the gate to the Underworld. The chapter title, The Ghost Gate, appears above his stunned and fearful face. The pen creature's voice echoes from off-screen, casually reminding him that he's already dead. His eyes widen in disbelief as he tries to process the creature's chilling words. He questions his own mortality, unable to accept the grim reality of his situation. A violent flashback reveals the brutal beating he endured just before his end. The memory becomes clearer, showing the moment his attacker delivered the final decisive strike in the dungeon. The horrifying truth finally dawns on him. He was murdered in cold blood. He collapses to the ground, overcome with a silent, agonizing scream of despair and disbelief. The strange pen creature reappears, comically annoyed by his outburst in this supposed public place. His anguish turns to bitter resolve, questioning why his simple dream of being a normal adventurer led to this cruel end. The pen creature offers some twisted comfort, callously suggesting his miserable life wasn't worth living anyway. Losing patience with his despair, the creature urges him to stop dawdling and follow it inside. He walks down a vast, ethereal path, wondering what fate awaits him in the afterlife. The strange guide seems amused by how quickly he's accepting his grim new reality. They arrive in a dark, unfamiliar space, and the protagonist questions their mysterious destination. Suddenly, torches burst into flame along the walls, slowly illuminating the cavernous room. The light reveals a colossal chamber, which the creature introduces as the site of his upcoming trial. He marvels at the grand architecture, noting its unsettling resemblance to the dungeons he once explored. His awe quickly turns to shock as he senses an overwhelming and ancient presence in the room. Before him stands a towering, regal figure, whom the pen creature identifies as the legendary King Yama. The pen creature condescendingly begins to explain the fundamental rules of the afterlife. It reveals that upon death, all souls are brought to the underworld to be judged for their earthly deeds. The wicked are then cast into a fiery abyss, doomed to an eternity of punishment. And the ultimate authority in this realm is the fearsome King Yama, ruler of countless demons. The protagonist's eyes widen as he recalls the mythological god who holds the power of life and death. He panics, refusing to believe such a powerful being could be dead, but the creature insists it's the truth. To prove its point, the strange guide directs his attention to ancient text engraved on a nearby wall. He stands before the towering monument, wondering what secrets the mysterious engravings hold. As he focuses on the strange symbols, he's shocked to find he can understand the ancient script perfectly. He realizes with a jolt that these aren't just random carvings, they are a detailed record of history. He examines the ancient mural, noticing the wall is heavily damaged right beside it. The carvings depict a god of the underworld leading a vast army into a great battle. Although parts of the mural are faded and unclear, the story is still visible. By combining the text with the strange symbols, the true meaning of the record becomes clear. It tells the tale of King Yama, who was defeated in a great war and whose body was sealed away here. The entire wall is an epitaph filled with the fallen king's bitter resentment and accusations. He reels back in shock, struggling to believe the tale of a war between the rulers of the world. A system window suddenly appears, offering him a solo mission to find King Yama's true head. The pen creature explains that this is his trial, and completing it is his only ticket back to the world of the living. Stunned, he questions his own death, only for the creature to cheekily clarify that he's merely half dead. The pen creature lies defeated, furious that the protagonist almost destroyed it. He processes his strange state, realizing his only priority is following the system's instructions to return to life. The mission reward catches his eye, a legendary soup that could cure his magic disease, the very thing he's been fighting for. With a single touch, he accepts the mission, and the ground immediately erupts with a dark, ominous energy. Two monstrous, spectral faces materialize from the darkness, looming over him with menacing grins. Suddenly, the entire chamber fills with a swarm of disembodied heads, all glowing with an eerie purple aura. He stares in shock, realizing he's surrounded by a horrifying collection of floating heads. The pen creature reveals the trial has begun. He must find King Yama's true head among countless decoys. He looks out at a veritable mountain of floating heads, overwhelmed by the impossible scale of his task. The pen creature mocks his despair, reminding him that a true trial is never meant to be easy. He resolves to check each head individually, quickly dismissing the more ridiculous-looking fakes. Overwhelmed by the sheer number, he relies on his adventurer experience, knowing every puzzle has a clue. But this trial is different, offering no obvious hints and seemingly no rules to follow. His attention returns to the ancient wall, certain the answer lies hidden within the text. A confident smile spreads across his face as he suddenly connects the dots. He brushes past the curious heads, keeping his newfound discovery to himself. The pen creature follows closely, desperate to know the secret he's uncovered. It even offers to reveal the answer, but the protagonist is already on the move. With a shout of triumph, he grabs a specific fierce-looking head from the swirling mass. The inscription's clue becomes clear. The true head is marked by a large, distinctive scar from a final, fatal blow. He confidently asks the pen creature for confirmation, but it just flies off with a cryptic remark. A sudden, horrifying realization dawns on him as the head's eye begins to glow with malevolent energy. His face twists in panic as he understands the fake head is actually a bomb. The decoy erupts in a blinding flash of purple energy, consuming him in the blast. The explosion sends him hurtling backward through the chaotic swarm of spectral heads. The pen creature gleefully announces his failure, confirming he chose a booby trap. Battered and bruised, he reevaluates the clues, wondering if he misinterpreted the inscription entirely. He pushes through the disembodied faces, desperately searching for the one he missed. The pen creature reappears with a megaphone, offering a helpful secret to spur him on. His blood runs cold as he learns the trial is on a timer, linked to the Soul Reaper's deadly work back in the living world. The pen creature reveals his death was the trigger that activated a dormant system, operating on preset rules. The Soul Reapers are safeguards meant to eliminate the player's killers, but his murderers were actually human. This means the Soul Reapers will now hunt down everyone in the dungeon, unless he completes the trial and seizes control of the system. He panics, realizing his friends are now facing the unstoppable wrath of the Soul Reapers. The horrifying truth sinks in. The trial's timer is his friend's lifespan, and failure means everyone dies. Fueled by desperation, he frantically searches through the sea of spectral heads, racing against the clock. He pushes himself to the limit, knowing every second wasted brings his friends closer to their doom. The stakes are made chillingly clear as the image of a blindfolded head appears, a grim reminder of the price of failure. Amidst the chaos, his eyes lock onto a unique hooded head, a sudden glimmer of hope in the darkness. With a surge of adrenaline, he lunges forward and grabs the hooded head, certain he has finally found the answer. He grabs the hooded head with absolute conviction. With gritted teeth, he commits to his choice, hoping it's the right one. His desperate gamble backfires spectacularly, resulting in another blinding explosion. The other spectral heads are sent flying, caught completely off guard by the trap. He tumbles backward through the air, completely disoriented by the force of the blast. He scrambles to his feet, frantically trying to figure out how much time he just wasted. The pen creature reveals the horrifying truth. He was unconscious for a full 20 minutes. Worse, the trap has increased the number of decoys and he now has only 2 minutes to live. The crushing weight of his repeated failures leaves him breathless and staring into the void. Yet his despair suddenly twists into a chilling, manic grin as a wild idea begins to form. The pen creature is startled by his sudden, unhinged laughter, questioning his sanity. A profound realization dawns on him, finally understanding the true meaning of being half dead. He calmly informs the creature that this entire trial is nothing more than a twisted, cruel joke. His guide is utterly bewildered, wondering if the pressure has finally shattered his mind. He recalls reading online strategy guides about a specific type of dungeon designed to psychologically torment players. He concludes this is a dark joke dungeon, a no-win scenario where every choice is wrong. The pen creature grows impatient, demanding to know if he has simply given up all hope. He sits in silent resignation as his guide taunts him with the finality of his failure. The narrative explains these cruel dungeons are designed to sow discord and turn allies against one another. It's all just a sadistic game for a hidden master, watching players struggle with an impossible puzzle until they break. He slumps in defeat, lamenting how foolish he was to believe this was a second chance. But through his despair, his sharp eyes notice something strange about the floating heads' behavior. He observes their frantic movements, wondering if they're happy before dismissing the thought. One of the spectral heads zips past him, letting out a silent, panicked shriek. Another head follows, urgently warning him to be careful as it flies by. A smirk forms on his face as he questions why a decoy would warn him, realizing he must have done something right. His focus sharpens as he notices some heads are floating with purpose, unlike the others. He understands that while most heads drift aimlessly, a select few are moving on their own. He theorizes that something is acting like a stick stirring water, causing the other heads to react. His mind flashes back to the wall's inscription, and a shocking new possibility finally clicks into place. He decides to stop guessing and put his wild new theory to the test. He quickly moves, attempting to replicate the exact position that caused the strange reaction. He watches intently, certain that if his hypothesis is correct, a specific event will occur. The pen creature is suddenly pulled toward a monstrous head, confused as to why the trial hasn't ended. It spins in a panic, completely thrown off by this unexpected development. The monstrous head furiously demands to know what he's doing, while the protagonist feigns innocence. The creature grits its teeth, worried that he's getting dangerously close to uncovering the truth. Its tone suddenly shifts, trying to sweetly convince him to just give up and accept his fate. But a confident smirk reveals he sees right through the act. Knowing the creature's panic confirms he's found the answer. The narrative reveals that while the wall is a key hint, there's another crucial detail that makes the puzzle solvable. He recalls the mission's initial prompt, which explicitly stated this was a solo trial. His gaze falls upon the imposing, headless figure of the sealed King Yama. He realizes the wall's inscription isn't a history lesson, but a personal message left for an old ally. The puzzle's greatest secret is revealed. The true head is always located directly behind the solver. Yet even knowing its position, he can't find it, understanding there's one final step he's missing. He spins around to check behind him, only to be met by the creature's disembodied, shouting mouth. The colossal body of King Yama stands in his way, making a simple retrieval impossible. He dismisses the idea of climbing, knowing such a crude approach would be a careless mistake. A glowing silhouette appears in his mind as he realizes the old friend from the text is the final key. He coolly ignores the creature's desperate taunts, walking away with a clear plan of action. He points directly at the panicked creature, a look of dawning comprehension on his face. The final clue clicks into place. The one thing an enemy would never show is simple courtesy. Ignoring his guide's frantic questions, he walks toward the center of the chamber with newfound purpose. He clasps his hands together, preparing to perform a gesture of profound respect. With unwavering confidence, he believes this single act of reverence is the key to solving the trial. He understands that returning the head isn't a physical task, but a symbolic one. But his gesture yields no results, leaving him to wonder what crucial detail he's still missing. From high above, the true head of King Yama finally speaks, questioning its own lofty position. He realizes his mistake. A simple gesture isn't enough for the mighty ruler of the Underworld. Without hesitation, he drops to the ground in a full reverent bow, offering the ultimate sign of respect. He prostrates himself completely, offering the highest form of respect to the fallen king. Before the colossal statue of King Yama, his humble gesture finally triggers a powerful response. A surge of dark crimson energy erupts from the headless throne, signaling his success. The true head of King Yama materializes, its ancient power acknowledging his desperate plea for a second chance. A system alert confirms his victory, announcing the trial is complete and the legendary cure is now active. He is bathed in a column of pure energy, feeling his body undergo a profound transformation. A triumphant grin spreads across his face as he feels magic coursing through his veins, his lifelong curse finally broken. The system rewards him not just with a cure, but with an entirely new and mysterious job, intern of the Underworld. He stares at the notification, realizing this old friend's promise has granted him a rare hidden class. But his celebration is cut short as the enraged pen creature reveals its monstrous true form, furious at being outwitted. He nervously realizes the creature's anger is genuine, understanding it never wanted him to succeed. The creature's monstrous maw opens wide, its razor-sharp teeth promising a swift and painful end. He stares up in horror, dwarfed by the sheer scale of the enraged guide's true form. With terrifying speed, the beast lunges forward, its jaws closing around him in a devastating attack. The creature's voice echoes in the darkness, desperately pleading its case to an unseen authority. A towering, shadowy figure reprimands the cowering creature, which grovels in absolute terror. As his consciousness fades, he senses a new, impossibly tall presence has entered the chamber. King Yama's disembodied head issues a command, ordering the pen creature to eject the protagonist from the underworld. The ancient king laments his foiled plans, deciding to gamble on the young man's potential and leave his fate to chance. The scene shifts back to the living world, where the harsh reality of an adventurer's life is brutally displayed. The scene shifts to the real world, where anxious families await the return of adventurers from a portal. A grim reminder highlights the high mortality rate of this profession, where a safe return is never guaranteed. He awakens in a dark, enclosed space, disoriented and desperately trying to escape. A lid slides open and he gratefully looks up at his unseen rescuer. His relief turns to shock as he's greeted by the familiar, unsettling grin of the pen creature. Reacting on pure instinct, he delivers a swift punch right to the creature's face. The creature explains he's in a morgue, and the protagonist awkwardly apologizes for the punch, blaming it on a nightmare. He pieces things together, realizing an association official must have raised the alarm after the raid team went silent. A heavy realization dawns on him. The time he spent in the trial likely cost everyone their lives. The creature reveals 2 others made it out alive, but insists they need to leave before their strange reunion is discovered. An elevator dings as it arrives at the hospital's basement morgue. An overworked attendant wheels in another body, complaining about his heavy workload. Relieved that this is his final delivery, he turns his back on the gurney to leave. A sudden movement startles him, and he shouts at the figure now getting up from the slab. He watches in utter disbelief as the protagonist and the pen creature sprint down the sterile hallway. The attendant's mind short-circuits, struggling to comprehend the impossible sight of a runaway corpse. The protagonist awkwardly catches the fainting man, while his strange guide urges him to abandon the witness. Leaving the unconscious attendant on the floor, he makes a mad dash for the elevator. Outside the hospital, an official frantically tries to manage the fallout from the failed raid over the phone. Slumped on a bench in exhaustion, she promises to verify the official death toll with the guild. The official complains about cleaning up the mess while the protagonist and his guide make a discreet escape in the background. Her attention is caught by a distant shout, but she seems to dismiss the disturbance. Looking around the now empty courtyard, she wonders if she just imagined the commotion. The scene transitions to a quiet, modest residential area where the protagonist lives. He finally reaches the safety of his small apartment, closing the door on the chaotic world outside. The pen creature perches on his shoulder, openly mocking his humble living conditions. As he walks inside, his guide sarcastically compares his tiny home to the vast, rent-free underworld. He collapses onto his bed, utterly exhausted, and confirms to the creature that he lives completely alone. Staring at the ceiling, he reveals the tragic fate of his parents, who were also adventurers. A somber memory shows his parents before a mission, a journey from which they never returned. He recalls his own childhood, a small boy with a toy sword, forever waiting at the portal's edge. Back in the present, he searches online for his new class, finding absolutely no information. The system has produced legendary classes for decades, like the fearsome necromancer. Other rare professions include the all-seeing oracle, a beacon of divine power. Even the mighty charioteer, a powerhouse on the battlefield, is a known quantity. But the narrative suggests that these legendary hidden professions are now a thing of the past. Lying in bed, he wonders if his strange new title could be one of these forgotten relics. A system window confirms his bizarre new class, Intern of the Underworld, a title unheard of in any guide. A glimmer of hope ignites within him. Possessing a rare profession could finally be his ticket to the top. Yet he hesitates, questioning if he should risk a life he barely got back in the brutal world of adventurers. He recalls the dark underbelly of the adventurer world, where the powerful openly exploit the weak. His expression hardens as he realizes his murderers are part of a shadowy elite with unchecked influence. The memory of his attacker's chilling words resurfaces, making him doubt he could survive another confrontation. His hand clenches his shirt, consumed by the single, terrifying question of his own survival. Overwhelmed by the complexity of his situation, he knows that quitting is not an option if he wants to eat. He sees his guide hanging beside a broom, a bizarre sight that triggers memories of his lonely, bullied past. Shaking off the painful memories, he sits up, ready to finally check the skills his new class provides. He points with newfound confidence, attempting to summon his skill window for the very first time. But his command is met with nothing but silence, leaving him to wonder if his curse still lingers. The pen creature reappears to mock his low level, before cryptically revealing the system has already granted him a special gift. He looks up in surprise as a golden light materializes in his tiny apartment, questioning what this gift could be. A quest window appears, ordering him to the Adventurers Association for a mysterious reward. He arrives at the towering association headquarters, pondering the true purpose of his new mission. Inside, he frantically tries to silence his guide, who reassures him that it's completely invisible to everyone else. The creature zips off to explore and he panics, chasing after it before it causes any trouble. They find themselves at the Awakening Chamber, where new adventurers are forged in the crucible of their first kill. His guide explains that this massive building is the central hub for every aspect of an adventurer's life. The strange pen creature suddenly shivers, seemingly unnerved by something in the vast hall. Looking up, he's stunned to sense the overwhelming magical energy radiating from countless portals above. The narrative explains this is where low-level adventurers prove their worth, hoping to catch the eye of a powerful guild. The pen creature mocks his low level, but the protagonist is more annoyed by the constant insults. Lost in thought, he accidentally collides with a massive, heavily armored adventurer. The imposing figure scolds him for not watching his step, as the protagonist apologizes from the floor. With glowing eyes, the adventurer activates a skill, contemptuously scanning his low-level status. Unfazed by the hostility, he calmly dusts himself off, accepting his current weakness as a level 1. Moments later, the same arrogant adventurer bows respectfully to a man in a suit, revealing the true hierarchy of power. His guide scoffs at this system, cryptically suggesting that the old rules are about to be broken. A golden light suddenly materializes before him, signaling the arrival of a new system prompt. His eyes widen in shock as the mysterious notification fully forms in front of him. A new quest appears, instructing him to select a dungeon, with the reward tantalizingly hidden. He decides to take a cautious approach, acknowledging he's starting over at level 1. His strange guide suddenly appears, impatiently questioning his hesitation. Before he can react, the creature yanks him directly into a dungeon portal, mocking his careful plan. A new quest window appears with a shocking demand: clear the dungeon entirely on his own. He panics, reminding his guide that dungeons are designed for teams, not solo players. The scene flashes back to the reception desk, where an official confirms his application for a level 3 dungeon. He carefully studies the list of available dungeons on a tablet, weighing the risks of each one. His impatient guide decides to help, rapidly tapping the screen to make a choice for him. He tries to stop the creature's chaotic interference, but it's too late. The receptionist cheerfully confirms the randomly selected dungeon, leaving him stunned by the unexpected turn of events. The creature offers a life-saving skill as a consolation prize, telling him to check his quest log. The new quest is a cruel joke, demanding he slap the creature in the face for an unknown reward. As he seethes with rage, his guide warns that abandoning the task means losing his new life and the cure. The horrifying realization sinks in: if he fails this ridiculous quest, he'll die for good. With no other choice, he reluctantly accepts the bizarre task, much to the creature's delight. A new system prompt appears, revealing the reward for his first task as a special gift. He activates his first new ability, summoning a swirling vortex of ethereal hellfire in his palm. His second skill materializes as 3 paper doppelgangers, a powerful tool for misdirection. A wide grin spreads across his face, ecstatic to possess 3 life-saving skills right from the start. He marvels at the strange turn of events, realizing a simple slap earned him an incredible advantage. He mentally inventories his new skills and meager supplies, realizing they're not enough for a direct assault. His only option is a stealth mission: navigate the dungeon, avoid combat, and complete the objective with minimal cost. He consults his notes on the Water Elf's graveyard, questioning why the goal is retrieval, not elimination. The narrative explains that portals are reusable resources, but defeating the final boss destroys them permanently. He knows the association exploits this loophole, turning dungeons into training grounds by never killing the boss. With a plan forming, he decides to test a crucial theory before moving forward. He prepares to test his magical water-walking boots, gear he could never use with his old curse. He takes a tentative step, his foot landing firmly on the water's surface as magic swirls beneath it. His eyes widen in a moment of pure, unadulterated shock and relief. He sprints across the water in celebration, finally confirming his lifelong curse is truly broken. With his confidence restored, he declares himself ready and ventures into the dungeon. He studies a poorly drawn map, planning a stealthy route through the waterlogged ruins. Casually strolling across the water's surface, he feels more like a sightseer than an adventurer. His guide warns him about a predatory starfish, which immediately proves the danger is real. They encounter a glowing frog, which the creature identifies as a magical lookout, raising questions about who else is here. The narrative ominously notes their surprisingly monster-free journey so far. He grows optimistic, believing he can complete the mission without a single scratch. Just as he thinks it, a new quest appears, shattering his hopes of a peaceful run. He furiously grabs his guide, convinced the creature has deliberately sabotaged his easy mission. Accepting his fate, he resigns himself to the fight, already recalling the dungeon's primary monster. He cautiously enters the dungeon, wary of potential threats. A strange, duck-like creature appears, seemingly surprised by his presence. He recognizes the creature as a duckman and considers himself lucky to find one alone. The duckman spots him, its expression shifting to alarm. He realizes the creature is trying to escape and gives chase to prevent it from alerting others. He notices a whistle on the duckman's chest and realizes he needs to destroy it. He prepares to use his hellfire skill, focusing on the small target. His guide yells instructions, advising him on how to use the skill effectively. He realizes his mistake and focuses his attention. He summons his weapon, preparing to enhance it with hellfire. He unleashes a swift, decisive strike with his weapon. He enhances his weapon with hellfire, launching a fiery attack. The duckman is engulfed in the fiery blast. His guide comments on his effective use of the skill. The duckman cries out in distress. His guide suggests showing mercy. The duckman looks terrified. He attacks the duckman, ignoring his guide's suggestion. He explains his reasoning for the attack. He checks his mana reserves, realizing he overdid it. He drinks a mana potion, deciding to keep his reserves topped off just in case. His guide mocks his rapier, but he explains it's the only weapon light enough for him to handle. A sudden sense of unease washes over him as he wonders why the quest hasn't updated. The system window confirms his fears. The duckman is not yet considered defeated. With its last ounce of strength, the creature manages to blow its emergency whistle. He grits his teeth in frustration, realizing his critical error. The quest finally completes, but he knows his failure to land a decisive blow will have consequences. Just as he feared, the piercing whistle summons a swarm of duckmen from the depths. The pen creature panics as they're suddenly surrounded by a furious amphibious mob. His eyes widen in alarm as he desperately tries to figure out his next move. Trapped on the water, he questions if this is the end of the line. But in a flash of insight, a desperate plan begins to take shape. He realizes the only way out is to create his own escape route. With a swift motion, he activates a small, unassuming item from his pouch. A sudden blinding explosion of smoke and dust engulfs the area. The duckmen are thrown into chaos, completely disoriented by the blast. As the smoke clears, the baffled creatures search the surface, finding no trace of their target. He uses the confusion to dive deep, making a silent getaway beneath the waves. Deactivating his hellfire, he reveals his trick was a simple smoke bomb enhanced with a spark. He swims for his life, knowing he's no match for the duckmen in their own aquatic territory. While swimming, he spots a massive shadow, questioning if his eyes are deceiving him. His fears are confirmed as a colossal creature darts past him in the murky depths. His guide suddenly appears, its monstrous mouth accusing him of abandoning it as he struggles for air. He desperately clutches his mouth, his lungs burning as he runs out of oxygen. He bursts from the water gasping for breath, only to alert a nearby duckman. The entire mob of duckmen spots them, and he glares at his guide, blaming it for their predicament. With the amphibious horde closing in, he makes a desperate dash across the water's surface. He consults his map while fleeing, realizing their escape route is a dead end, forcing a confrontation. He leaps across the rocky terrain with surprising agility, his past as a miner giving him an unexpected edge. Landing with practiced ease, his magical boots flare to life, ready for the next move. He dashes across the water, his magical boots kicking up a massive spray. Skidding to a halt, he realizes the horde of monsters is still growing. His eyes widen as he sees countless more duckmen emerging from the shadows above. He understands his smoke bomb backfired, attracting even more enemies and trapping him completely. A blindfolded, blade-wielding duckman stands out from the mob, clearly their leader. With no other options, he decides it's time to unleash one of his new skills. A system window details his paperman ability as 3 spectral doppelgangers materialize. The 3 eerie paper clones crackle with energy, ready to sow chaos among the enemy ranks. Using the distraction, he lunges at the duckman leader, aiming for a decisive blow. His blade scrapes across the leader's tough hide, leaving him stunned by his attack's failure. His guide reveals the paper clones are lifeless until he draws their eyes, a crucial step he doesn't understand. The creature transforms into a calligraphy brush, offering itself as the tool to complete the ritual. He learns that by using the creature as a brush, he can imbue the papermen with his own souls, giving them life. The duckman leader roars in fury, its glowing red eyes signaling the start of the assault. The amphibious horde surges forward, a wave of glowing eyes and sharp teeth closing in on him. He struggles under the immense weight of the leader's weapon, barely deflecting the powerful strike. The brutal reality of combat hits him as he's overwhelmed by the speed and ferocity of the monster's attacks. He and his 2 clones stand together, facing the crushing descent of the leader's massive blade. Gritting his teeth, he pushes through the pain, realizing he's barely surviving the chaotic battle. With no other choice, he commits to a final, desperate gambit, diving headfirst into the enemy swarm. The duckmen shriek in terror, recognizing the deadly nature of his hellfire. He unleashes a wave of energy, creating a safe zone amidst the chaos. His mana drains rapidly, forcing him to race toward his paper clones. The lifeless paper doppelganger awaits its master's command. Using the pen creature as a brush, he begins the ritual to grant it life. A surge of spiritual energy flows into the clones, infusing them with his very soul. The newly awakened paperman's eyes glow with red light, confusing the enemy horde. The duckmen are baffled by the sudden appearance of his doppelgangers, recognizing the advanced technique. With a silent command, he sends his newly animated clones charging into the fray. His impressive-looking clones are immediately and comically overwhelmed, proving to be surprisingly fragile. The pen creature points out the clone's surprising durability, urging him to use the distraction to escape. Seizing the opportunity, he makes a desperate leap across the water, putting distance between himself and the mob. A sharp pain shoots through his leg, reminding him of the injuries he sustained in the chaotic battle. He presses on, leaving a trail of blood in the water as his guide follows close behind. His first priority becomes clear: find a safe place to treat his wounds before they worsen. He stumbles upon a mysterious door, from which a powerful and ominous magical aura radiates. Confused by this unexpected discovery, he quickly consults his map for answers. He realizes with a jolt that he's standing before the dungeon boss's chamber, a place that should be sealed. A chilling question forms in his mind as he stares at the open portal. Why is this one different? Before he can process the anomaly, the furious cries of the duckmen confirm the horde has caught up to him. He realizes the immediate danger isn't the mob in front, but something stirring in the water behind him. A massive blade slices through the air, narrowly missing his face and confirming his fears. He finds himself completely trapped, with the amphibious horde blocking his only escape route. The duckmen advance with menacing glares, ready to overwhelm their cornered prey. But their aggressive charge halts abruptly, their expressions twisting from fury to utter shock. He questions their sudden change in behavior, wondering if his presence is somehow intimidating them. A cold sweat breaks out as he understands their fear isn't directed at him, but at something far worse. A colossal, smiling creature emerges from the depths, its sheer size dwarfing the entire chamber. He slowly turns, his face contorting in abject terror at the true boss of the dungeon. Meanwhile, back at the Adventurers Association, officials begin investigating the very portal incident he's trapped in. An association official negotiates over the phone, agreeing to cover a guild's losses to maintain their partnership. He hangs up and questions a commotion, learning from his staff that a low-level adventurer has entered a portal. The situation escalates when he's told the portal is now sealed, meaning the boss room has been breached. Demanding the adventurer's file, he suspects the man is on a suicide mission for entering alone. The manager scoffs at the fool's greed, but a detail in the report suddenly catches his eye. He sees the adventurer has no listed profession, sparking a brief hope of discovering a rare hidden class. His interest peaks as he considers recruiting the potential talent, but the adventurer's unimpressive record quickly dashes his hopes. Dismissing the man as disposable, he decides to abandon the portal and the adventurer inside it. The manager reflects on a recent string of incidents, noting the association is under pressure to find answers. Back in the dungeon, the protagonist is deemed a victim of bad luck, another casualty in a series of unfortunate events. The colossal boss brings its weapon down with terrifying force, aiming to crush him. He retaliates with a surprisingly agile leap, planting a powerful kick right on the monster's face. The impact sends him to his knees, his guide desperately urging him to flee while he still can. The dungeon boss looms over them, its blindfolded grin promising a brutal and merciless fight. But instead of attacking him, the boss turns its attention to the duckmen, smashing one with its massive weapon. The protagonist realizes the boss is clearing out the weaker monsters first, giving him an unexpected opening. Seizing the opportunity, he cancels his clone skill and makes a mad dash for the exit. His guide reminds him of a horrifying truth. The dungeon portal is sealed and there's no escape until the boss is dead. Ignoring the danger, he suddenly turns back, determined to retrieve the backpack he lost in the chaos. The pen creature is baffled by his decision, questioning his priorities in a life-or-death situation. He recalls that his backpack contains the crucial supplies needed to continue the fight. The system confirms his final objective is to defeat the boss, and he resolves to win with fire. His face twists in alarm as he senses a sudden, powerful gust of wind from the boss's attack. The colossal boss brings its weapon down with immense force, creating a powerful shockwave. His eyes widen as he instinctively reacts to the devastating attack. He narrowly evades the crushing blow, the impact sending a spray of water everywhere. He sacrifices a paper clone, cleverly using its destruction to amplify his hellfire. Leaping through the air, he unleashes his hellfire skill, engulfing the boss in a full power blast. The force of his attack sends him skidding across the water, but he successfully snatches his backpack. With his supplies recovered, he watches the fiery aftermath, questioning if his desperate gambit was enough to win. The dungeon boss bursts from the flames, completely unfazed by his all-out attack. A brutal counterattack sends him flying, the impact leaving a painful mark. He grits his teeth in agony, the force of the blow overwhelming him completely. His hellfire skill is forcefully cancelled as he crashes into the water, the boss looming in the distance. He kneels in exhaustion, his mana depleted and weapon shattered, but his backpack is finally secure. To his horror, the boss emerges from the smoke without a scratch, its tough hide resisting the intense flames. He realizes the attack's recoil has left him severely injured, leaving him with no good options. The colossal boss raises its weapon as he accepts the grim reality that this solo mission is impossible. A system warning flashes, demanding he resist, revealing that failure here means losing everything. He clutches his chest in despair, questioning if his second chance at life will end in his very first dungeon. He questions if his dream of being an adventurer was always destined to end in failure. His deep desire to explore the worlds beyond the portals fuels his will to live. With renewed determination, he grits his teeth and refuses to accept this grim fate. His guide suddenly erupts with manic glee, revealing it has one last trick up its sleeve. The colossal boss unleashes a devastating attack, sending a shockwave through the chamber. The pen creature narrowly escapes the blast, leaving a small item behind in the chaos. In its true form, the creature blocks the boss's chain, claiming it's only helping due to his intern status. The guide reappears, urging him to listen carefully as it reveals the secret to their survival. It instructs him to pour his mana into its body, allowing it to transform into any weapon he can imagine. The dungeon boss readies its final attack, setting the stage for a true test of willpower. His guide explains the boss's hide is like steel, rendering all conventional blades useless. He realizes he needs a weapon that delivers a single, crushing blow to break its defenses. His plan is simple: provoke the colossal beast into a predictable head-on assault. The boss loses track of its target, searching the water in confusion. He positions himself perfectly, waiting for the monster's twin hammers to fall on either side of him. Running on pure adrenaline, he knows he only has one chance to time his counterattack perfectly. The boss commits to its attack, swinging its weapon down without a second thought. With a ferocious grin, he prepares to unleash the full power of his new weapon. He swings the transformed creature, now a massive polearm in a powerful arc. He brings the glowing weapon down with incredible force, aiming for a decisive strike. He unleashes a powerful strike, confident in his plan. His guide warns him about the dangers of predictable attacks. He reacts quickly, adjusting his attack mid-swing. A burst of energy suggests a powerful impact. He presses his attack, determined to finish the fight. He focuses his remaining energy for a final blow. He aims for a vulnerable spot, hoping to exploit the weakness. He reaches out, seemingly drawing power from the surroundings. He channels a powerful and intense energy. He stands victorious, explaining his strategy. A system notification confirms his complete victory, with every objective successfully cleared. The adrenaline fades, and the full, agonizing weight of his injuries suddenly hits him. Despite the pain, he smiles as a notification confirms his success and a significant level up to level 4. The system rewards him with a new ability called Judgment, unlocking the pen creature's true potential. His hellfire skill also receives a major boost, maxing out its proficiency and increasing its power. Utterly spent, he collapses onto the defeated boss while his guide complains about losing some hair in the fight. He offers a sincere, if slightly embarrassed, thank you, earning an increase in his weapon proficiency. He finally understands his guide's primary function, while the flustered creature denies any intention of helping. Back at the association, he reports the dangerously open boss room, but the receptionist dismisses his concerns as impossible. His guide questions his altruism, but he insists on warning them, knowing the next adventurer might not survive the same ordeal. The receptionist smiles politely, privately dismissing his warning as just another failed adventurer trying to claim compensation. He watches her patronizing promise to investigate, knowing his report is being completely ignored. Suddenly, an imposing association manager with a menacing aura interrupts their conversation. The manager congratulates him on the solo clear and confirms his rewards are already being processed. As the high-ranking official walks away, the other staff members seem to breathe a collective sigh of relief. The protagonist wonders if the issue is truly resolved, but his guide remains skeptical. The manager glances at his phone, revealing he's holding a death certificate with the protagonist's name on it. The shocking truth hangs in the air. The man he just spoke to was officially declared dead. With a stern look, the manager dismisses the receptionist, leaving the matter unresolved. The receptionist complies, but the manager's phone on the desk is a silent testament to the impossible situation. Manager Jin receives a call from the head of the Eternal Financial Group. The caller inquires about the status of the corpse dungeon. Manager Jin reports on the unusual activity surrounding the dungeon and a suspected manipulation. He reveals the dungeon's level has increased significantly, wasting resources. Manager Jin realizes how the protagonist survived the dungeon collapse. The caller is shocked to learn someone claimed the dungeon's reward. The caller expresses disbelief, claiming the portal was under constant surveillance. Manager Jin confirms the protagonist's solo victory and requests they take care of him. The caller reflects on the protagonist's improbable survival against high-level adventurers and a dungeon collapse. The protagonist walks down the street, sore but surprised by the dungeon's meager loot. He receives a paltry sum for his near-death dungeon experience. He questions the surprisingly low payout, confused by the system's logic. A summary of his dungeon run highlights his incredible luck and King Yama's dry commentary. He receives a stretching pill as a reward, promising enhanced physical abilities. He reacts with excitement to the unexpected reward, startling his guide. He recognizes the pill's significance, realizing its potential to overcome early game hurdles. The narrative explains the difficulties low-level adventurers face in a world dominated by high-level elites. Early adventurers struggle to acquire decent gear, forced to rely on physical training. He contemplates his path to level 5, lamenting the exorbitant cost of professional training. He realizes the timing of this reward is crucial for his progression as an adventurer. A system prompt materializes, offering him a mysterious second reward. A few days later, he arrives at the city's adventurer archive, determined to research his unique class. While he frantically searches the database, his guide insists his class is special, but he's driven to find out why it's unlisted. His own attribute screen appears, revealing his stats and a bizarre message from the Underworld suggesting he died to train. His eye crackles with blue energy as he discovers an incredible new power. He realizes he can now see the attribute screens of others, instantly assessing their strengths and weaknesses. He marvels at this overpowered skill, which surpasses even the most legendary information-gathering abilities. The system's commentary grows increasingly absurd, making a strange suggestion as he observes someone nearby. His attribute screen reappears, highlighting the mysterious death stat and the taunting Underworld message. He sits at his desk, contemplating the true meaning of his death stat and how he stacks up against other adventurers. He considers other classes, like mages who specialize in high-damage bursts. He compares them to bards who focus on support, finding his own class too random and costly to be legendary. His guide delivers a swift, disciplinary slap for his insolent thoughts. The creature furiously reminds him that without its power, he'd still be a magicless nobody. It proudly boasts that their shared class holds the ultimate power over life and death itself. The protagonist remains unconvinced, prompting his guide to mention the legendary Judgment Pen. He dismisses the claim as mere mythology, pointing out the creature's current lack of power. The guide retorts that his potential is locked until he acquires the full set of legendary items. It explains the pen is paired with a mythical book used by the King of Hell to record human lifespans. The narrative reveals this legendary artifact is known as the Book of Life and Death. The creature complains that necromancers are just common soul stealers who keep poaching their clients. He observes its arrogant attitude, beginning to believe his class might truly hold dominion over life and death. As the guide continues its rant, its words dissolve into incomprehensible digital noise, leaving him baffled. It cryptically explains the information is beyond the system's scope, making him wonder why the system would censor him. He reflects on how game-like elements such as quests and stat panels have inexplicably manifested in the real world. His research uncovered records of dungeons containing actual gods, a concept he finds utterly unbelievable. He notes the complete lack of information on his trial and realizes no other adventurer has a system like his. A single troubling question forms in his mind. Why was he the only one granted this cheat-like power? His guide snaps him out of his trance, pointing out he's been muttering his existential crisis out loud. The creature cuts through his confusion with a simple piece of advice. Stop questioning the gift and just use it. The creature explains that not just anyone is qualified for a god's trial, a fact that only deepens his confusion. He demands to know why he was chosen, but his guide cryptically asks if he's truly ready for the answer. The creature dismisses his questions, advising him to focus on leveling up instead of unraveling cosmic mysteries. He agrees, realizing that going solo is too difficult, and contemplates the idea of joining a guild for support. With a new sense of purpose, he walks through the city, focused on his immediate goal of reaching level 5. He passes a news report of a high-level party wipe, feeling a sliver of security with his unique class. Overhearing a conversation, he learns the incident is a massive conspiracy, one that would have been buried without the system's intervention. A grim realization dawns on him. The culprits are far beyond his current power, and his second chance at life was pure luck. He clenches his fist, a fire ignited within him to grow stronger and never feel so helpless again. He asks his guide about the other survivors, learning 2 others managed to escape the morgue before he regained consciousness. He reads a news report about a total party wipe with no survivors, suspecting a cover-up. His guide suggests investigating the incident, wondering if the survivors are his former teammates. He arrives at a hospital, likely to inquire about the missing adventurers. He poses as a family member to gather information about the dungeon survivors. He learns that only 2 out of the original group survived the dungeon incident. He thanks the receptionist, secretly relieved his teammates are among the survivors. One of the survivors suddenly materializes, surprising the receptionist. The receptionist reacts with fear and calls for help as the survivor's unusual form is revealed. The survivor's monstrous appearance causes panic in the hospital. A woman questions the need for her presence at the hospital, annoyed by the interruption. The receptionist is startled by a sudden, unexpected attack. Others in the hospital witness the strange, unsettling event. One of the dungeon survivors reassures the injured receptionist. Hospital staff react to the escalating chaos, prioritizing the wounded. More staff members are caught in the rapidly unfolding situation. The protagonist observes the strange events, questioning the presence of monsters. The monstrous appendage continues its rampage through the hospital. The protagonist is caught in the chaos, narrowly avoiding a direct hit. A portal suddenly appears, engulfing the protagonist in its energy. He finds himself transported to an unfamiliar location, questioning his whereabouts. A woman points urgently, seemingly alarmed by something ahead. A group of individuals finds themselves in a grand, ornate hall. Light streams down, illuminating the figures and the space around them. The protagonist stands among the group, a cryptic message appearing above. A system message confirms everyone's arrival, promising a task soon. The mission objective appears: save the Frog Kingdom from peril. 2 women react to the mission details, one finding it troublesome. 2 men discuss the mission, one expressing excitement, the other disgust. The protagonist analyzes a strange organic growth, suspecting a portal issue. Information about the people involved in the incident is displayed. Two eager adventurers anticipate the mission, their confidence evident. A muscular adventurer voices concerns about the team's preparedness. A woman urges the group to stop delaying and start the mission. Another woman expresses concern about the unknown dangers of the portal. The protagonist contemplates the risks of lone adventurers. One adventurer reacts with disdain to the protagonist's cautious approach. The protagonist advises caution, emphasizing the unknown risks. One adventurer questions the protagonist's motives. The protagonist is grabbed, suggesting a confrontation. Other adventurers react to the protagonist's defiance. He assesses the situation, unimpressed by the other adventurers. A woman interjects, worried about his reckless behavior. A sinister figure observes the unfolding events with amusement. Two adventurers clash, escalating the tension. He intervenes, attempting to de-escalate the situation. He explains his intentions, prioritizing a cautious approach. The woman criticizes his naivete and warns him about the dangers. He reflects on the close call, realizing the gravity of the situation. Another woman voices her concerns about the mission's risks. He attempts to reassure the group, explaining the portal's nature. He reassures everyone, pointing out the simplicity of the task and the abundance of adventurers present. A young woman boasts about her high status and expects a swift rescue. Two adventurers express admiration and ask to stay with the high-status woman. He observes the other adventurers, questioning their strategy and counting them. The Frog Princess makes a grand entrance, signaling the start of the mission. The assembled adventurers prepare to face the unknown challenge. The mission objective is revealed: obtain the Frog Princess's kiss. One adventurer reacts with disgust, while another expresses concern about the mission. An adventurer is startled by a sudden, unexpected event. He and another adventurer react to the Frog Princess's imposing presence. Two adventurers react with intense excitement to a sudden development. Another adventurer expresses alarm and urges caution. Player hostility is detected, and an attack is launched against a large frog-like creature. The protagonist reacts with shock as the rules of the dungeon become apparent. The protagonist questions how they are supposed to overcome this new challenge. Amidst the chaos, the protagonist tries to restore order and stop the panicked adventurers. Two adventurers find the escalating situation interesting. The protagonist analyzes the pattern of deaths in the dungeon. The absolute rules of the teleportation portal are revealed. The guide reveals a startling truth about the nature of the portal. The Frog King explains the instability of the fairy tale world system. The guide advises prioritizing self-preservation in this divine trial. He reflects on the implications of an incomplete system, fearing a specific entity's involvement. He worries about the potential chaos caused by the unstable rules. Someone experiences a sudden, shocking event with dire consequences. He urges everyone to calm down and escape the dangerous situation. A woman questions his judgment and demands an explanation. He challenges her to leave and see the consequences for herself. Another woman intervenes, urging everyone to consider his perspective. She reminds everyone of previous adventurer deaths, reinforcing the danger. A woman questions his independent thinking, annoyed by his defiance. The system confirms everyone has accepted the mission and reveals a deadly time limit. The adventurers realize they narrowly avoided a fatal trap. The adventurers react with panic and confusion as the situation changes. The mission begins, and the adventurers are transported to a new location under attack. He processes the sudden teleportation, confused and disoriented. A woman reacts with shock and dismay at another unexpected teleportation. Two adventurers discuss the unfolding events, one concerned, the other amused. An adventurer expresses worry about the sudden appearance of monsters. A woman finds herself alone after the teleportation, expressing fear and confusion. A new mission appears: exterminate bugs within a castle and protect the princess. Two figures, one in black, the other in pink, unleash a powerful blue energy attack. The protagonist realizes they've been paired up, questioning the increased difficulty. He notes the endless swarm of low-level bugs and feels uneasy about the god's trial. He decides to stop overthinking and incinerate the bugs all at once. He discovers his new tool reduces mana consumption, increasing his available magic power. He tells his partner to hide behind him as the bugs approach. His partner agrees, seeking protection behind him. He is startled by his partner's close proximity. He unleashes another powerful attack against the bugs, questioning its effectiveness. He spots two other adventurers abandoning their post, wondering where they're headed. A system alert confirms his fears. Their desertion has caused the bugs to scatter toward everyone. His guide points out the bugs are constantly respawning, urging him to act before others get hurt. He realizes the grim truth. Leaving the fight only makes the swarm grow, and they'll be overwhelmed trying to protect everyone. System notifications confirm the first casualties, a stark reminder of the mission's stakes. He's shocked by how quickly the situation has turned deadly, realizing his fears have come true. His guide demands he stop holding back and unleash his full power to end the threat. Heeding the advice, he unleashes a massive vortex of energy, incinerating the bug swarm. He stands with his partner in the aftermath, the immediate area now clear of monsters. A system notification confirms their success, declaring their section of the mission complete. His partner expresses her gratitude, but he's already focused on their next move, saving the others. He explains the trial is designed to pick them off one by one, so they must regroup to stand a chance. A desperate cry for help echoes through the hall, and he recognizes the voice instantly. He spots another survivor, a female student fleeing a swarm of bugs and questioning why she was left alone. Relieved to find an ally, he recalls her class as a support mage, a crucial role for the team. The grim realization hits him. If the support mage is alive, her entire swarm of monsters is too. Deciding he can't hold back any longer, he prepares to unleash the full extent of his power. A massive wave of blue energy erupts from his hands, completely vaporizing the insectoid horde. The rescued student marvels at his strength, revealing she received a system notification of his death. He's stunned to learn they both received false death alerts, just as a shadowy hand grabs him from behind. He explains his theory that the system is sending everyone different, false death notifications. The protagonist deduces it's a psychological trick to crush their morale by making them think their allies are falling. He recognizes this cruel, familiar feeling, connecting the insane trial to a twisted, dark joke. His guide clarifies that dark jokes are simply what adventurers call these unpredictable gods' trials. A chilling premonition warns that the portal's true challenge is yet to come. A new system prompt confirms his fears, updating the mission to a simple, brutal objective: survive. His guide finally reconnects, complaining about the effort before immediately demanding a new plan. He splits from his companions, instructing them to stay together while he searches for other survivors. Realizing the deserters are likely hunting the boss, he races through the halls to find them. He discovers a grim scene, finding the two reckless adventurers have already met a grisly end. He recalls the moment the two adventurers abandoned their post, driven by selfish ambition. His eyes glow as he concludes their demise was a direct result of another's greed. A painful memory flashes through his mind, reminding him of the consequences of being weak and exploited. A sudden noise from the boss room snaps him back to the present, his focus sharpening. He peeks inside to see the remaining adventurers fighting the giant frog boss in a chaotic frenzy. The reckless adventurers argue amongst themselves, their teamwork completely falling apart. One of the men grins with a crazed look, clearly reveling in the high-stakes battle. Spotting the protagonist, the adventurer greedily warns him to stay away from their prize. Unimpressed, he clenches his fist as blue energy crackles around him, ready to intervene. A flashback reveals his earlier hospital visit, where he learned the grim fate of other adventurers from a previous incident. He understands their desperation. Level 10 is a brutal wall that forces adventurers to fight dirty for loot. But he draws the line at sacrificing others, his glowing eye promising to take the prize from them himself. One of the brothers unleashes a powerful volley, shouting for his partner to land the killing blow. The massive bug-like boss reels back, struck by the overwhelming force of their coordinated attack. Staggering from the blow, the creature is left completely vulnerable to a final strike. The armored brother stands over the beast, arrogantly ordering his partner to claim their victory. Just as they celebrate, the protagonist appears behind them, his fist crackling with intent. The armored adventurer turns in shock, infuriated that the protagonist dares to interfere with his prize. Unfazed by the level difference, he prepares for a fight as his guide eagerly anticipates using a new power. Suddenly, a long, sharp shadow slices across the floor, heralding the arrival of an unexpected third party. A blur of motion slices through the air, catching the armored adventurer completely off guard. A system notification declares the boss defeated, but another message announces their mission has failed, crediting a frog knight with the victory. The mysterious killstealer is revealed, a regal armor-clad frog knight wielding a glowing blade. The protagonist questions the sudden mission failure, realizing this new arrival is another twisted part of the trial. The armored adventurer seethes with rage, his prize snatched away at the last second. Wasting no time, the protagonist activates his special eye ability to analyze the powerful new foe. The enraged adventurer lunges forward, delivering a powerful kick to the Frog Knight's side. His brother roars in fury, preparing a powerful energy attack to reclaim their stolen loot. He channels a blinding orb of energy, intending to obliterate the Frog Knight in a single, decisive blow. The glowing projectile hurtles toward the Frog Knight, who stands unflinching in the face of the attack. The armored adventurer recoils in shock, a red blur flashing past his head. With a single, effortless motion, the Frog Knight deflects the attack and sends him flying. His brother watches in horror, crying out as his sibling is brutally taken down. The protagonist's glowing eye narrows, analyzing the impossibly fast new enemy. His analysis confirms the Frog Knight's overwhelming power, revealing a triple strike so fast he couldn't even see the first blow. Blinded by grief, the remaining brother charges forward, vowing to avenge his fallen sibling. The Frog Knight casually dispatches him with a flick of its wrist, ending the confrontation in an instant. A system window reveals the Frog Knight's true mission, to usurp the throne and become the hero of this story. The protagonist's eyes widen as he realizes the horrifying implications of this new objective. The final, chilling detail of the mission appears. The Frog Knight must eliminate all the adventurers to succeed. He realizes he's somehow viewing the Frog Knight's own mission panel, just as a voice announces it's found them. As his companions question the mission's failure, his glowing eye senses an immediate and deadly threat. He desperately shouts a warning as a massive blade slices through the air, aimed at the unsuspecting adventurers. The Frog Knight ignores him and charges one of the other adventurers, who panics at being singled out. A support mage's skill backfires, inadvertently marking her ally as the Frog Knight's next victim. With one adventurer down, the merciless knight immediately turns its attention to the next, raising its sword to strike. The Frog Knight dispatches another adventurer with a single devastating blow, shocking the remaining survivors. A sudden counterattack catches the knight's attention, causing it to pause its rampage for a moment. The Frog Knight effortlessly dodges a barrage of attacks, proving its speed is far beyond the adventurer's capabilities. Surrounded by a menacing aura, the Frog Knight glares at its next target, promising a swift end. With his eye glowing, the protagonist beckons the Frog Knight, ready to take it on himself. He explodes into motion, rushing down the hall to meet the new enemy head-on. The Frog Knight stands its ground, its blade poised to intercept the incoming challenger. His guide transforms into a massive, grinning shield, meeting the knight's powerful downward slash. Steel grinds against the bizarre shield as the two forces collide with a brilliant flash. The sheer impact of the clash sends both the protagonist and the Frog Knight hurtling backward. He lands hard, stunned by the force of the blow, but amazed his guide shield remains intact. The Frog Knight is sent crashing into a stone pillar, but the protagonist barely manages to stay on his feet. He grits his teeth, using every ounce of strength just to block the knight's relentless, heavy attacks. The Frog Knight looms over him, its weapon raised high, signaling the end of the fight. He strains against the overwhelming force, his shield guide barely holding back the knight's blade. With a powerful kick, he sends the Frog Knight flying backward across the courtyard. The knight is momentarily stunned, its vision filled with cartoonish stars from the impact. His guide takes the opportunity to cast a series of healing and recovery spells on him. Shaking off the daze, the Frog Knight quickly regains its footing, ready for another round. The other survivors rush to his side as he lies on the ground, questioning how they're supposed to survive. He explains the dungeon's twisted logic. The Frog Knight must eliminate them to become the story's hero. Impressed by his insight, the support mage listens as he formulates a plan based on their party composition. She confirms she can provide buffs but remains skeptical, suggesting they hide instead of fighting. He dismisses her idea, knowing the knight's incredible speed makes escape impossible and forcing a confrontation. He analyzes the knight's stats, realizing its insane speed was the key factor in defeating the stronger twin adventurers. He assesses his remaining allies, a support mage and a siren, who seem surprised to be considered part of the plan. Believing teamwork is their only hope, he prepares to face the impatient Frog Knight, confident they can win together. His guide despairs at the tactical view, lamenting their low levels and declaring the situation completely hopeless. Despite the dire odds and his injuries, he maintains a cool and determined expression, much to his guide's annoyance. The support mage is taken aback by his unwavering confidence, questioning if he truly believes they have a chance. Inspired by his resolve, she clenches her fist, deciding to trust his judgment as their only path to survival. The siren, however, erupts in panic, accusing him of being out of his mind for wanting to fight the monster. The support mage calmly explains that running is futile, as the knight's speed means they'll just be hunted down. Meanwhile, another survivor selfishly plots to use the others as human shields, planning to sacrifice them for his own escape. Back in the city, an official receives a list of everyone trapped inside the hospital portal. Manager Jin reviews the report, worried a dungeon collapse could cause mass casualties and cost him his job. His concern deepens when he sees two high-profile individuals from powerful organizations are among the victims. The situation becomes a political nightmare as he learns the Golden Consortium's heirs were also dragged into the dungeon. Overwhelmed by the constant calls from powerful figures, he finally decides to answer his phone. He receives a surprising update. The protagonist, previously declared dead, has been spotted inside the new portal. The caller sees this as a perfect chance to eliminate the protagonist while organizing a rescue for the VIPs. A mysterious thought suggests the protagonist is not going to die this time, hinting at a hidden agenda. The caller explains that with the consortium's heiress and the Elven Guild's head inside, they won't have to lift a finger. The red-haired man smirks, preparing to offer Manager Jin a sinister suggestion for how to handle the crisis. The caller smirks, impressed by the ruthless suggestion from the financial tycoon's son. A narrative interlude poses a question about the most powerful high-damage mage class. The text provides world-building details about a unique class, portal party requirements, and the limits of solo adventurers. Back in the present, his guide gets uncomfortably close, angrily pointing out a flaw in his thinking. The creature reveals it was reprimanded in the Underworld for his near-death experience and wants to avoid another scolding. It criticizes his theoretical knowledge, questioning the probability of his recent solo boss victory. The guide presses him for an explanation of how he defied the odds and defeated the boss alone. He contemplates the massive power difference between normal monsters and bosses as energy gathers in his hand. He downplays his victory, attributing it to luck and skills, while a system window confirms his incredible fortune. The guide calls him an arrogant former mortal, but concedes that such feelings are normal for a new adventurer. The guide decides to set things straight, offering two critical lessons for his future battles. It first points out his ignorance of the true power gap between levels as he struggles to block an attack. The creature warns that his lucky win against the last boss has made him dangerously overconfident. It explains that a team of level 5s would be annihilated by a genuine level 9 threat like this one. His guide furiously questions his reckless decision to challenge such an overwhelming foe. The Frog Knight remains unimpressed, preparing to unleash another powerful strike. A flashback shows the guide being sent flying by a powerful blast, highlighting the enemy's strength. The support mage admits her weakness, but he calmly instructs her to focus on buffs and distractions. She's stunned by his tactical awareness, questioning why a level 4 would knowingly risk this impossible fight. With no other options, she decides to place her trust completely in his mysterious plan. He reassures his guide shield that it has performed exactly as he expected, despite taking some hits. The Frog Knight radiates a menacing green aura, sensing the protagonist's growing anxiety. The guide begins its lesson, explaining that real-world adventurer levels lack the clear numerical values of a game. It clarifies that all standards are based on the accumulated experience of those who came before. The explanation continues, stating that leveling up provides clear improvements to an adventurer's core abilities. It uses his own yin-yang vision as an example, showing how stat increases are visibly tracked. Therefore, a significant level gap makes it incredibly difficult for the weaker combatant to win. The guide illustrates that a 3-level difference is considered an almost insurmountable gap in power. However, the guide adds that raw skill and class advantages can sometimes overcome the level disparity. It concludes that superior speed or technique can allow a skilled fighter to dominate, regardless of other stats. He strains against the Frog Knight's attack, his guide shield absorbing the powerful blow. The protagonist reflects that just a week ago, fighting a monster of this caliber was an impossible dream. He counters with a powerful blast of blue fire, pushing the Frog Knight back. He knows that with the massive level gap, a single direct hit would mean his immediate demise. But his research confirms his unique flame skill is an unknown variable, giving him an edge over his peers. He analyzes his opponent, realizing its armor isn't thick enough to withstand a direct hit from his flames. The knight's ignorance of his papermen and other fire skills forms the core of his strategy. He prepares to unleash a powerful, costly ability to turn the tables. He understands that in this battle, the weaker side must wait for the perfect moment to act. A sudden, swift attack lands, shocking him and drawing blood as the knight proves its superior speed. He sacrifices a paper clone, creating a brief but crucial opening in the fight. The Frog Knight seizes the opportunity, bringing its glowing blade down for a powerful strike. He's shocked as the knight shrugs off his unquenchable flames, a feat he thought was impossible. But his glowing eye reveals a critical weakness. The Frog Knight's movements are starting to slow down. He signals to the support mage, ordering her to use her skills to distract the weakened foe. He recalls her selfish nature, remembering how she used another adventurer as a human shield. He realizes her substitute curse skill is designed to sacrifice others for her own safety. As the fight rages, the selfish enchanter is already walking away, abandoning her teammates. She angrily dismisses her companion's plea to help, showing no concern for the others. With a cold glare, she declares that her own survival is all that matters, demanding her companion follow her lead. The selfish enchanter complains impatiently, wondering why her brother hasn't sent a rescue party yet. Meanwhile, the Frog Knight's blade slices through the air with blinding speed. Its sword embeds itself deep into the stone ground, glowing with a menacing green aura. The protagonist sees his opening, realizing he just needs to hit a single vital spot to win. He lunges for the embedded sword, his hand crackling with blue energy as he prepares a counterattack. But the moment he touches the hilt, the Frog Knight's speed increases exponentially. He's unable to dodge completely, taking a painful slash across his chest. As the knight looms over him for the finishing blow, the support mage shouts a desperate warning. She unleashes a powerful blast of light, creating a crucial distraction. She rushes to his side, learning a paper clone absorbed most of the damage while a pill he took earlier saved him from a fatal blow. The support mage apologizes for her companion's selfish escape as the Frog Knight realizes its targets have scattered. The knight pauses for a moment, deciding which of the fleeing adventurers to hunt down first. A simple calculation appears in its mind. With 2 targets eliminated, only 2 remain. Having chosen its prey, the Frog Knight explodes into a blur of motion, racing after the deserters. The support mage panics, realizing the knight is chasing the others and worries about the protagonist's condition. He calmly explains that losing the enchanter's power has crippled their chances, and their best opportunity is now gone. His glowing eye narrows with focus, already calculating a new, more desperate strategy. In a strange vision, he finds himself on a basketball court, inexplicably unable to let go of a heavy post. His guide appears, ready to deliver its second lesson. He's been using his incredible power all wrong. A system window reveals the true nature of his hellfire, an unquenchable primordial spark from which all of hell's flames originated. The guide reveals his hellfire is fueled by the very souls it consumes, a power he's barely begun to understand. He puffs out his cheeks, trying to force the skill out by holding his breath. His guide delivers another swift slap, knocking some sense into him for his ridiculous technique. The creature scolds him for being a theory-obsessed nerd, questioning why he's holding his breath to use magic. He dejectedly recalls that this flawed method somehow worked for him before, adding to his confusion. It explains that true power comes from coordinating mana with physical action, something combat classes learn instinctively. Dutifully taking notes, he learns that the body must physically guide the mana to release a skill's full power. He realizes he's never consciously controlled his flames, admitting they only ever manifested in the heat of the moment. His guide loses all patience, calling him utterly hopeless and questioning why the system chose someone so inept. This leads to a profound question. If not by mana, then how is he able to perceive the souls his fire consumes? The guide explains that mana is merely the engine for a skill, not the spark that ignites it. In a mental vision, he walks through a dark warehouse searching for that missing piece. He's urged to find the true source that ignites his incredible power. The lesson becomes clear. He needs to find what starts the engine of his abilities. He visualizes a trail of dark energy, the very essence of his hellfire. Back in reality, the sudden mental strain causes him to collapse to the ground. The support mage rushes to his side, alarmed by his sudden breakdown. He's shocked to see his mana has been almost completely drained in a single moment. A memory surfaces of his guide warning him about the skill's immense cost. The creature reveals a chilling truth. His hellfire doesn't just burn mana, it consumes something far more vital. His eyes open, a new clarity washing over him as he understands the true cost of his power. The world itself shifts before him, his perception expanding beyond the physical realm. With this newfound vision, he witnesses the Frog Knight closing in on the fleeing deserters. His sight pierces through the knight's armor, revealing the very essence of its being. He watches helplessly as the knight raises its blade, ready to strike down the two selfish adventurers. Back in the courtyard, the support mage desperately tries to rouse him from his trance-like state. Dark energy swirls around his eye, signaling the awakening of a terrifying new ability. In a final act of betrayal, the selfish enchanter shoves her companion directly into the knight's path. The enchanter watches without a flicker of emotion as the frog knight's blade finds its mark. The sacrificed adventurer dissolves into black smoke, her very soul consumed as a consequence of her ally's cowardice. His newfound vision allows him to witness the frog knight's very soul being consumed by dark flames. He realizes this incredible sight comes at a cost, as his mana plummets to a critical low. A tendril of his dark energy blazes across the courtyard, chasing down the fleeing enchanter. He pushes himself to the limit, knowing he's just moments away from victory. He focuses on the pure, primordial essence of his hellfire, the source of his power. A memory of another fallen warrior flashes in his mind, fueling his desire for retribution. He embraces the darkness, resolving to unleash his full power and incinerate his enemies. The frog knight begins to disintegrate into ash, overwhelmed by the unholy fire. Just as he's about to finish it, his guide frantically intervenes, desperately trying to stop him. He recoils in pain, shocked to see the very same dark flames consuming his own arm. His guide furiously scolds him for depleting his mana, as the support mage watches the self-inflicted damage in horror. Even the fleeing enchanter is stunned by his incredible power, a skill so potent it can strike unseen targets and even harm its wielder. His guide issues a desperate warning: sever the mana connection immediately, or the hellfire will consume him completely. He grits his teeth, focusing all his willpower to command the rogue flames to dissipate before they cause irreparable harm. The dark energy finally recedes, extinguishing itself and revealing the severe damage inflicted upon his own arm. The support mage quickly kneels beside him, casting a recovery spell to mend his injuries and restore his strength. Her spell fails completely, and she stares in disbelief as a system window confirms his mana is utterly depleted and cannot be restored. A system window declares the frog knight defeated, rewarding him with its weapon and a new hidden quest to expose a royal conspiracy. Suddenly, a brilliant pillar of light erupts from the heavens, engulfing them both in its radiant energy. The light signals a level up, instantly restoring his health, but he clutches his chest with a worried look, unable to feel anything in his arm. His guide reflects on his recklessness, admitting it underestimated him as just another knowledgeable fool. The protagonist's determined gaze reveals he views this near-death experience as just another step forward. The guide senses a deep, morally ambiguous power within him, something neither good nor evil. Shaking off the thought, the creature decides to ignore the unsettling revelation for now. Elsewhere, the selfish enchanter screams in agony, covering her face in pain. She suffers a terrible consequence for her betrayal, her vision failing as she demands to know where her attacker is. Stumbling blindly, she calls out for help, but her former companion is already fleeing the scene. The enchanter is left completely alone and helpless in the vast, empty courtyard. A system window materializes, congratulating the protagonist on his survival and offering a final reward. He reaches for the screen, still in disbelief that he managed to pull through the impossible trial. A system warning flashes, announcing a critical bug. The frog princess is enraged by her knight's demise. The survivors react in shock, while the selfish enchanter stumbles blindly, confused by the sudden turn of events. The massive castle doors begin to shudder, heralding the arrival of a new, greater threat. A colossal cloud of dust erupts from the entrance, barreling towards the remaining adventurers. The frog princess emerges, now a monstrous level 13 boss, looming over the two survivors with a furious glare. The system confirms their mission to get a kiss has failed, as the princess is now officially their enemy. Back in the real world, an official impatiently checks his watch, demanding to know where the rescue team is. The president of the powerful Golden Consortium watches the portal, his expression grim and annoyed by the delay. A hulking, red-haired adventurer with an overwhelming aura finally arrives, ready to intervene. Inside the dungeon, the protagonist shoves his companion to safety, narrowly avoiding a crushing blow from the enraged princess. The monstrous frog princess unleashes a devastating attack with her powerful tongue. He checks on his companion, revealing the graze from the attack resulted in a serious fracture. His guide despairs, blaming their terrible luck for encountering a dungeon-breaking bug. He grits his teeth in frustration, unable to summon his hellfire in his weakened state. Looking at his hand, he realizes with dread that his mana has been completely depleted. Cursing his constant misfortune, he braces for another devastating attack from the enraged boss. The princess's tongue whips down with incredible speed, aiming to crush them both. Suddenly, the red-haired adventurer appears in a blur, intercepting the massive tongue with a single punch. The sheer force of the blow sends the colossal frog princess flying backward. The rescuer casually asks for the VIP, shocking the protagonist who realizes he just broke through the portal's barrier. The rescuer asks for the Golden Group's heiress, but the protagonist reveals the real VIP already fled. The support mage points out the selfish enchanter, who has tripped and fallen while trying to escape. The rescuer calls out to the fallen woman, who denies being the VIP and claims the real one is injured. Realizing neither of them is his target, the rescuer ignores their pleas to clear the dungeon, focused solely on his mission. He dashes off to find the VIP himself, leaving the other two survivors completely bewildered. The monstrous frog princess is momentarily confused by the rescuer's sudden disappearance. Its attention quickly snaps back to the remaining adventurers, its tendrils glowing with renewed menace. The frog princess unleashes its fury, forcing the survivors to scatter in a desperate panic. The red-haired adventurer soars across the massive courtyard, covering an impossible distance in a single leap. He lands before the selfish enchanter, announcing he's her rescue, only to be met with her entitled complaints about his tardiness. The rescuer scoffs, completely unimpressed by the VIP's demanding attitude. As the frog princess gives chase, the selfish enchanter screams for a swift escape. The red-haired adventurer once again blocks the monster's powerful tongue, holding his ground. With a furious kick, he sends the massive creature flying, clearly annoyed by the interruption. He patronizingly compliments the survivors for lasting so long, much to their silent rage. The protagonist tries to explain the dungeon's bugged state, but the rescuer just wants to know why they're wasting time. He simplifies the problem with brutal logic. The easiest way to fix a bug is to destroy it. A confident grin spreads across his face as he relishes the chance to show off his power. The narrative pauses, raising a single, ominous question about the rescuer's true level of strength. Wasting no more time, he charges headfirst towards the colossal boss, ready for a one-on-one fight. He unleashes a devastating whirlwind of slashes, overwhelming the colossal frog princess with pure force. With the monster defeated behind him, the red-haired adventurer lands with an air of casual dominance. System windows confirm the boss's defeat and the portal's failure, highlighting the rescuer's terrifying strength. He turns to the protagonist with a knowing grin, correctly deducing he was the one who fixed the Frog Knight bug. The rescuer acknowledges the protagonist's unusual power for a level 5, impressing him with his sharp analytical skills. The protagonist reflects on the massive power disparity, realizing he struggled while this man effortlessly defeated a stronger foe. The powerful adventurer suddenly asks about his profession, catching the protagonist completely by surprise. Using an insight skill, the rescuer is shocked to find the protagonist's profession is listed as completely unknown. The support mage chimes in, equally curious about his strange abilities and eager to solve the mystery of his class. As his guide frantically warns him to stay silent, the protagonist coolly considers what excuse he can possibly give. His guide screams at him to run, but the protagonist panics, unsure where to go. Before they can act, a swirling red vortex materializes in the sky, signaling their exit. The selfish enchanter panics, demanding to be let out of the collapsing dungeon first. His guide urges him to prioritize escaping, telling him to flee as soon as he's outside. Just as he's about to leave, the red-haired adventurer stops him, much to his surprise. The rescuer proposes they split the dungeon's loot, citing an emergency protocol for their joint effort. The support mage readily agrees, grateful for his help and promising to get his name later. He receives a system settlement, dismissing his guide's teasing about the support mage to focus on the situation. Walking away, he reflects on the immense loot and the high body count required to obtain it. The rescuer offers some grim advice, telling him not to protect everyone and to use the spoils to break past the level 10 threshold. He considers the rescuer's advice, questioning the meaning of the level 10 threshold. A system explanation details the dungeon ranking system, with specific level ranges for each portal type. He learns that level 10 adventurers face a brutal trial in sea-level portals, with level 11 offering a chance at a second awakening. The protagonist realizes that his entire journey as an adventurer is a high-stakes gamble. He steels his resolve, knowing the loot from this dungeon is the key to gaining more power. Clenching his fist, he decides to cast aside all hesitation and move forward. A powerful memory reminds him he's tired of being weak and helpless. The rescuer places a hand on his shoulder, revealing another mission while the protagonist detects a familiar scent. His guide panics internally, recognizing the overwhelming scent of death coming from the powerful adventurer. In a shocking twist, the rescuer suddenly grabs him by the face, his hidden objective now complete. The rescuer unleashes a devastating punch, his true intentions finally revealed. He sends the protagonist flying, coldly stating that his little brother should have perished in a past incident. Outside, officials watch as the survivors finally emerge from the collapsing portal, rushing to tend to the wounded. An association member calls for the survivors to come forward and give their official report on the portal's status. Agents from the Golden Group immediately intercept the selfish enchanter, prioritizing her safety as she demands to see her brother. The support mage quiets her friend, urging her not to reveal anything about what truly happened inside the dungeon. She agrees to cooperate with the association, though her companion remains visibly concerned for her well-being. The ominous red vortex continues to churn as onlookers wonder why the protagonist and his attacker have yet to emerge. A report confirms a key individual has been found injured, while two others, including the protagonist, remain unaccounted for. Elsewhere, a man in a suit sighs in relief, believing the crisis has finally reached its conclusion. Manager Jin reflects on his morally questionable method of culling the adventurer population. He recalls a recent scandal involving a mass grave of adventurers, fearing an impending investigation from headquarters. Convinced his powerful connections will save him, he concludes the protagonist's death is the key to his own survival. His violent thoughts manifest in a brutal vision, cementing his resolve to see the protagonist eliminated. Back in the dungeon, the red-haired adventurer stands over his victim, his grim mission seemingly complete. The protagonist lies motionless on the ground as his guide materializes beside him, assessing the critical situation. A dire system alert flashes, announcing the protagonist's impending death and a system reset. In a shadowy realm, two powerful entities observe the events, one pondering their next move. The first entity decides they must intervene to save the protagonist, believing he is their only hope. The second entity dismisses the idea as too risky, trying to bargain for a minimal intervention while the other remains silent. One entity begs to intervene, while the other, a robed figure, deems itself unsuitable for the task. Back in the dungeon, the protagonist's lifeless body lies on the cold stone floor. His hand twitches as a voice relishes the long-lost feeling of being in complete control. The red-haired attacker stares in disbelief, shocked that his target is still somehow active after a fatal blow. He scoffs at the bizarre turn of events, questioning the appearance of a ghost-like entity. The protagonist's body rises from the ground, his head replaced by a column of crackling blue flame. He stands tall, an aura of immense power radiating from his headless form. The attacker feels an overwhelming pressure, stunned that a level 5 can move without a head. A mysterious voice gives a new command, ordering the headless figure to take down his opponent. A second entity teases the first, surprised by its sudden sentimentality towards the adventurer. The guide watches from below as the possessed body of the protagonist stands ready for battle. The headless figure confronts the red-haired attacker, who is stunned by this impossible sight. The mysterious entity controlling the body urges haste, knowing its borrowed time is running out. Meanwhile, the guide reflects on the protagonist's strange habit of finding immense strength only at death's door. It recalls his past struggles, noting that despite moments of bravery, he is often driven by fear. The guide reveals it has temporarily sealed the protagonist's soul to allow this possession to happen. It ponders his contradictory nature, questioning why he mourned strangers more than his own comrades. The creature struggles to understand the protagonist's true self, a confusing mix of hatred and apathy. Shaking off the deep thoughts, the guide focuses on the immediate crisis, relieved its desperate plan is working. It reveals its emergency fix, talismans that forcefully keep the protagonist's soul tethered to the world of the living. The protagonist's soul drifts in a void, disoriented after being violently separated from his body. His guide appears in the strange limbo, urging him to wake up to the dire situation. It explains the divine trial's interference prevented the system from sending a timely warning about the attack. With his memory returning, he realizes with chilling certainty that the attack was a targeted assassination attempt. A familiar, dreadful feeling washes over him as he processes the gravity of his enemy's intent. The guide deduces their foe is incredibly powerful, as framing a level 17 adventurer would be nearly impossible. It explains that high-level adventurers are too resourceful to be swayed by simple bribes, making them difficult scapegoats. The mastermind behind this must be someone of immense influence to risk their entire career on this assassination. He desperately tries to understand the motive, questioning why such a powerful figure would target him specifically. Panicking, he asks if he can even return to his body, but his guide orders him to focus on the present. The guide chides his disembodied soul, telling him to reattach his head before they discuss their grim predicament. It explains his last revival was a system fluke, and this time his death was meant to be permanent. A system notification confirms his imminent demise, with a full reset pending the moment his life signs cease. However, a crucial update reveals his life signs are miraculously still present, delaying the final countdown. His guide reveals a mysterious ally is buying them time by keeping his possessed body fighting in the real world. This borrowed time is fleeting, forcing him to complete a new urgent trial to reclaim his life. It clarifies they are in the void where time is distorted, but the protagonist questions the continued urgency. He learns the grim truth. Even if he survives this trial, his assassin will be waiting for him back in the mortal realm. To stand any chance, he must complete the trial and become powerful enough to face his high-level killer. He's suddenly bombarded by an overwhelming number of quests, a brutal training regimen designed to forge him into a true warrior. He stares at the endless list of combat skills he must master, feeling completely overwhelmed by the impossible task. His guide informs him there's no backing out now and casually announces the arrival of his new coach. As the guide vanishes, he's left alone in the void, nervously wondering what kind of trainer the Underworld has sent. A sudden, chilling sense of familiarity washes over him as he recognizes the ominous setting. A colossal chained gate bursts open with incredible force, sending a shockwave that throws him off his feet. He lands hard, staring into the settling dust and wondering what kind of monster has just been unleashed. A powerful hand grips the edge of the gate, followed by the menacing tip of a sharp weapon. His eyes widen in terror as a voice asks if he remembers his soon-to-be trainers. A figure with long, flowing white hair steps out from the shadows, revealed to be an old acquaintance. The mysterious coach is revealed, a woman with piercing purple eyes that glow with a sinister light. A title card announces the arrival of his two trainers, a terrifying duo of a muscular brawler and a stoic warrior.